So I recently did a day trip from Auckland to Rotorua and back on a pretty wet and rainy day using FSD. Overall, it handled itself well in these conditions, and it definitely made the drive overall a lot easier to do, and I absolutely felt less fatigued after. But I got a few issues to point out. The biggest issue is that speed control was poor in my opinion. On the 110k sections, it wouldn't maintain 110, and it seemed to want to hover around 90 to 100, despite having the max speed set to about 115. I had to constantly give it accelerator presses over and over again to keep it at the speed limit. On the 100k sections, it also felt a little slow, hovering around 80 to 95ish. Perhaps it was being overly cautious due to the weather, but in my opinion the speed limit is safe to do in a good stable car like a Tesla in these conditions. Secondly, when I wanted it to do the opposite of going fast, it never did. In construction, it never wanted to slow down to the 30k limit, so I had to use the scroll wheel to control speed. I know most people don't actually slow to the limit in these roadworks, but in my opinion, you really should slow down for two reasons. One is police. On one occasion, there was a police car just after the roadworks, and I suspect that he had just finished pulling over someone who was speeding through them. And the second is road condition. Obviously, the speed limit is set to 30k in construction due to poor road conditions, and in one instance we hit a pretty big pothole which made a huge bump in the car, even at my set speed of 30. I think that doing any faster would have risked damage. And thirdly, and most importantly of course, is out of respect to the construction workers and their safety. Finally, lane selection was still an issue, and so was getting into lanes early enough. Also in two instances it seems that the nav was wrong, and it was going to take the wrong exit on a roundabout. And just like the last video, I've sped up the boring bits and kept the interesting bits at normal speed, and you can use the YouTube description to skip to the interesting bits if you want to. Here I just wanted to point out that FSD overtook this truck just fine, despite the truck spraying water everywhere and creating very poor visibility. Here FSD makes good use of the left lane to overtake two slow vehicles driving side by side on the right two lanes. I do give it a little bit of an accelerator press to speed it up a bit so it overtakes faster, but it does the lane changes all by itself. In this situation, we start in a 110k zone, and there is a slower grey car in front, and FSD is going for the overtake. But just as it starts the overtaking procedure, the speed limit drops to 100k, and I believe that the grey car even speeds up a little bit, and the two lanes merge into one just up ahead. It felt like FSD was on a trajectory to be right next to the grey car when the merge ended, so I quickly scrolled the speed limit back a little bit to keep it behind. The other option I was thinking was to give it an accelerator boost, but in my experience, cops love to sit at speed borders to catch people out. Here it seems that FSD has wrong nav data, which screws it up. We need to take the second exit in this roundabout, but for some reason FSD suddenly changes the nav to want to exit on the first exit and turn around and come back to take the second exit. So here I hold the wheel to keep it turning right, as I could feel it tugging to turn left to take the first exit. And this causes a disengagement. Here there is a fallen tree on the side of the road, partially occupying the driving space. I think FSD ever so slightly biases to the right, and you can see the tree visualized as a grey clump on the screen. I just wanted to point out here that FSD only slows to 60 and a 50, even though I have the speed offset set to 10%, so I scroll it back to 55 max. In my experience, cops love to sit in these small towns and catch people not slowing through them. Here FSD doesn't indicate left despite taking the first exit, so I quickly give it an indicator press. Here FSD initiates a good overtaking maneuver on a single lane two-way road, but I do have to help it out with an accelerator press to get it to overtake faster. Just pointing out here that FSD wants to do 75 in a 30k construction zone, so here I use the scroll wheel to manually set the max speed. And here again, 30k zone, but it's still doing 88 as it passes the sign, so again, I quickly set the max speed manually. And at the end of this zone is where you'll see the police car, who I suspect had just finished pulling over someone who was speeding through this construction zone. And here I'm just happy to report that FSD didn't freak out when a truck splats a huge amount of water on our windscreen, briefly reducing visibility to nearly zero for a second. And just here is where we hit a fairly big pothole in the construction zone. It doesn't look so bad in the video, but in the car it really felt like we hit something big, and it made a huge sound. So yeah, glad we weren't going any faster over that pothole, or it might have caused some damage. Here we're pulling out of a supercharger, but we find some farm animals in the way, which is quite common in New Zealand actually. Also, there is a car on our right in the middle of the road, blocking our path. FSD patiently waits for the livestock to move out of the way, then waits for the car, then pulls out. Here I disengage because FSD suddenly jerks hard to the right in the roundabout. You can see that it's visualizing that there's something in the road on the screen, and that it's trying to avoid it. But there's nothing there, apart from the keep clear paint. Here I disengaged because our exit is coming up, and I can see that the left lane is congested all the way down. FSD always has problems getting into congested exit lanes, so I manually take over when a good gap appears. Here I disengage to get it into the right turning lane, as this is the correct lane for us. With the traffic, it will be difficult for FSD to get over in time if it uses the left turning lane. And here I disengage again, because FSD doesn't seem like it's getting in the right turning lane, and instead it wants to continue in the straight through lane, which is wrong. And here is one last disengagement. We're supposed to be going straight through, but for some reason FSD is moving towards the left turning lane.